stand up for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Commissioners meeting. And let's see here. For the first call of business, we're going to have the Commissioner's office will report on the financials.
This is a very minor financial. There was just a few dollars required to be put into the auditor's dog and kennel fund. There's an employee who works for the auditor for the first half of the year and processes dog licenses. And this is the final payroll. They needed like $51.50 in the payroll account, $350 in your PERS account. So that's all this was, to make that adjustment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Don't you only have
No
to?
motions?
No motion.
Okay.
No motions. It's all right.
No motions.
Okay. So we want to.
2 through 7 are all of your resolutions.
Okay. 2 through 7. So we've got resolutions here for that involve Chardon High School, Kenston, Ledgemont, West Geauga High School, and our representative that we would like you to come up and speak regarding the event if we can.
Katie, do you want to come up and talk about it? Okay.
How is everybody tonight?
Good.
Good.
Yourself?
Good. It's beautiful out, right?
Yeah, it
Very
is that
much.
now.
The Envirothon is an environmental competition. Its whole purpose is to kind of gain an appreciation of the environment, help students kind of foster a desire to go into a field that would somehow be environmentally based. It's a competition that starts off, first we do a regional practice in the fall, just to kind of help the teams get them acquainted with local professionals that can help them in their training, and then there is an area competition that takes place in the spring, and that's area 2, so there's 17 counties that come together. And so pretty much for the past at least 6 years, we've always had Chardon, Kenston, West Geauga, Ledgemont are the 4 that usually are well attended and compete. Chardon does really well every year, usually at the competition, and has moved on to the state, which takes place in June. And at that competition, let me back up. The top 4 teams go and compete at the state competition. From there, the top team at state goes on to the North American. Unfortunately, there wasn't a North American this year due to funding. They're kind of putting the funds together, and hopefully there'll be one next year. Chardon did very well at state, representing Lake County, or representing area 2, and they placed 3. And then they also tied in wildlife and oral presentation. They tied for first place with that. So it's exciting, and I'm fortunate enough that the district allows me to go and volunteer at the state level, and it's just amazing to see these kids and the dedication. When they get ready for their oral presentation that Chardon, placed first with, it's 4 hours of no electronic devices. You have somebody watching them, and they just have to use any sort of book resources and their knowledge that they have inside to come up with whatever the essay question might be at that time. So it's a lot of dedication. So I always come back going, okay, our future's going to be good with these kids. So I don't know. Anybody have any questions? That kind of covers it. So we have Chardon here, and then we have West Geauga's advisor representing, and the others I was not able to get a hold of. So.
These are in alphabetical order, Chardon.
Marilyn, would you like to add anything to it?
Chardon first.
Well, I'm very proud of my team, and we all wore our state orange shirts that we got at the state competition this year.
Organized.
So I think they look great. And many of the students who come out of Envirothon have gone into environmental careers. One of them is doing air quality testing in the San Francisco Bay for Chevron. Another one is a consultant in Boston and in London for various firms on their environmental effects and compliance. There's a student who's an associate director of an arboretum on Key West. Tom Kortansky is working for the Lake Metro Parks and Wildlife Management. And I could go on and on. It has such an effect on these students' lives. And they are really going on to make a difference for our country in natural resource conservation. Oh yeah, and Brian Vandegoes in forestry. I mean, it makes a difference. And thank you for your support, and especially for Western Reserve Resource Conservation and Development, who supported us as well.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I want to say, and Adrian also, he is here representing our C&D, but he also has given his own personal funds to help the teams that go on to the state. So we very much so appreciate the support that they give.
Marilyn, not to put you on the spot, how many years have you been doing this?
About 20 years.
20 years.
You started it when the program started at Chardon.
Well, actually, Helene Rose started
Helene
it,
started it, all
but
right.
she retired pretty quickly, and I took over, and it's really been a great thing for me. I've learned a lot about natural resource conservation and the importance of everybody working together in it. Sportsmen are big conservationists, farmers are big conservationists. I mean, we all work together.
Well, thank you for doing that for the youth. I mean, I know you,
That's great.
and I know you've done it for a number of years. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ackerman, would you like to say a couple of words or anything regarding this?
I fully support the Envirothon. It's really an educational process, and they can tell you the results of that. We are a 9-county regional area consisting of commissioners, a representative from the commissioners, representative from the Stormwater Conservation District, and a member at large is appointed by those two organizations. And we've been in business for about 20 years. It's a nonprofit organization that deals with a lot of educational and informational programming for the citizens within our 9-county area here in Northeast Ohio.
And to add to that, they did a nice presentation here about, maybe, was it 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
regarding that, as far as, a lot of people that are looking out also for, programs within the education system to be able to get some funding for a lot of this that sometimes gets cut through the mix, that we, fortunate to have, people like you that have an interest in putting dollars into these programs to give the youth this experience.
I think it stays
Okay.
with you all your life. You'll find as you get older that you'll be caring about what happens to
Oh,
your
yeah, Mike.
environment. I remember when we were in 8th grade, we had these science fairs, and I remember doing one on conservation in the cities, and that always stuck with me, and how we polluted our cities and what we did. And I guess that was the reason we moved out here. Well, if I had these in alphabetical
Okay.
order, this would be Chardon, this would be West G.
One other person that I think doesn't get sometimes the recognition that
Is-
he needs to is Mike Sustin. He's hiding there in the back, and not to put you on the spot, Mike, but I've known Mike for a lot of years now, and he's just, being in the business that I'm in, I get to talk to a ton of people, and the amount of compliments and the level of dedication that Mike Sustin has with the students of what he's built at West Geauga is just, far superior, well above of what, would be required of any teacher to do. And it's amazing the leadership that he has shown also to his students, and just the actual role model that he is to so many. And it's just, we're fortunate to have Mike, not only just in Geauga County, but for West Geauga School, that he believes in, and he's made his life pretty much his students. And it's, I truly respect what he's done, and just the character that he is, and it's always too humble, and he deserves a lot of, congratulation, appreciation too, because you do a lot. He's accomplished a lot, has been recognized by the natural resources across the board as as pretty much an authority on a lot of the different issues that come up, and just fortunate to have somebody like you with the knowledge that you have and background, and it's we're fortunate. But thank you for all your service too with the kids and just everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So. said, then we'll have Christine go ahead and read off all the names and schools that these students are from, and congratulations.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution number 14-105, recognizing the Chardon High School Team Red, Chardon High School Team Black, Kenston High School Team A, Ledgemont High School Team, West Geauga High School Team Blue, West Geauga High School Team White for the 2014 Northeast Ohio High School Area 2 Envirothons. With Chardon, Team Red was Aaron Conway, Melanie Cohn, Madison Brady, Natalie Clark, and Nicholas Schregel. Chardon Team Black was Chris Baldwin, Michael Ritchie, Andrew Dial, Allison Whitney, and Jacob Krebs. Kenston Team A was Elizabeth Janko, Madeline Sand, Zachary Roshan, Joshua Sellers, and Lauren Zucker. Ledgemont was Megan Ritz, Steve Conklin, Marissa Eliason, Logan Lightman, and Emily Schaefer. West Geauga Team Blue was Victoria Robertson, Katina DeMarchi, Jackson Howard, Hillary Junglis, and Jordan Lees. And West Geauga Team White is Catherine Culp, Haley Clapp, Max Garcia, and Juliana Rubin.
I would make those motions.
Second the motion.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye, motions all stand approved.
Ralph, these are in alphabetical order. This is Chardon. And this
Okay.
one's West G.
Okay.
So
I don't know.
you want to come up and Chardon come up first, and or whichever. That's Chardon. Yeah, we can all go
Stand, you
around.
can stand back there so I can get you on the camera.
No.
Stand where?
Well, you have them come up here with, yeah.
Yeah, come on up here.
Come on up.
Stand over
If you want to be on TV, you gotta.
This is Kenston A.
Go in front.
Come
young
in front
ladies.
of us.
Yeah.
You
Marilyn.
know.
there. There we go.
There you go. What kind of poke in between you? Ralph, you need to get in.
Yep.
Okay, here we are.
Sure.
Are you there, Blake?
So many people.
Like a 3 good pictures.
Give him an A.
We have
Between
a
then,
resolution.
isn't it? PowerPoint projector on people.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know, what do they do now?
Which way do we go?
Team Black is going to be.
Team Black, who
Yeah.
takes?
Well, I don't know that they're here individually.
They're
Marilyn.
not, this is all Team Red.
Marilyn.
So this is
uh,
Chardon.
All
Yes,
Chardon.
Chardon,
Well,
Team
we
Red.
have Chardons and Ralph has all those.
Chardon is right here, so.
And West.
Just want to bring that back.
Okay, you
to
can
Yeah,
give
the West.
represent. Perfect, yeah, congratulations.
Which way we go?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
for West Geauga, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks again for, take care, Marilyn. Sure.
Yeah, I know.
Good job.
Excuse me. Yep.
Pull your chair out, Merrill.
And the Kenston one.
She's got them.
And I gave her that one to Katie.
I'm sorry, in your spot, guys. Boot it out again.
You're up there. Thank you for your generous contribution.
Sure thing, thank you.
Good seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure.
No, Blake.
Of course, thank you.
Can you go, you know, Ralph?
Oh, yeah, yep. Yep, thank you.
Okay, are we gonna go with Dale and Tara next?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move to the
All right,
audience.
Move
Sounds
aside,
good.
I'll bring the camera.
So then
What are
we've
we
got
gonna
a
do?
presentation.
We're gonna do the presentation.
No, can we do the one first?
You wanna do 9 and
Yeah,
then
do
go back
9
to
and
8?
then we're done.
So for number 9, we've got the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board appoint Dave Lair as alternate for Mary Samiti to the NOACA Governing Board for the remainder of 2001.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Sweetie?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye, motion stands approved.
Now, you want us over here?
I'm going in the
We
front.
can just go down there, right?
Yeah. I can sit and watch it from here, but I'll get a stiff neck.
Oh, yeah.
Or we could just look through it.
All right.
We have some mitigation info here.
How are you?
Hello.
Nice to meet you, Ralph.
Leonard Barsakowski,
Okay, very nice.
What's your name? You didn't advertise it as a public hearing, you just published it as a public notice.
Oh, young man, how are you?
Yeah.
Good yourself? Oh, I guess I'm all right.
I've
It's
been
not
told.
raining.
Mind your way. You want me-
No, I'm not doing the presentation.
Oh.
But I would like to thank the commissioners. And Dave was part of the interview process, and Ralph was, and several others, Sheriff's Office, utility people, State of Ohio, for allowing me, and for you allowing me to hire Tara. She's been a wonderful employee,
Thank
and
you.
Slide up a little bit so
And,
you're in the picture.
is a Geauga County resident, Middlefield.
I want to get the presentation and you.
She's gonna get this presentation.
And I just want to note for the record
I'm
that,
here is the,
To watch.
and just for the record, just so everybody knows, we did advertise that this is a public, giving public notice, the review and revision, to the local mitigation plan.
Okay.
So basically, today I'm just gonna go over the plan that it's currently still in the draft process. And I'll go through a little bit of what the next steps are of the process. But we'll just go over quickly the plan, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we did with the planning process to get it completed. So first of all, just to give you a concept of mitigation and the reasons that we kind of do a mitigation plan within the county. Mitigation is the effort to reduce the loss of life and lessen property damages due to impacts of various disasters. It's also taking action now prior to the disaster and hoping to reduce that human and financial consequences to the county or to residents. So the plan was split up into various sections. Our original plan, the plan that I had to work on from before that we went through, I kind of took out some of the sections that we didn't necessarily need and added some new requirements that were sent down by FEMA and the state of Ohio for mitigation process. So this first part, the introduction, basically listed out the purpose, kind of participating people that sat on the planning team. This plan is specific to natural hazards within Geauga County. The group did determine that we would like to kind of look at a plan that would incorporate things that were not natural hazards, such as pandemics, terrorism incidents, something like that. So we'd like to reconvene the group again once we get this approved to start working on some of those action items and try and get a plan together that would help us in the future for that. The next section is community information. Within there, kind of list out the different utilities that are within Geauga County, the highways, the routes. It also lists out census data for economics, who lives within Geauga County, all those types of items. The next section, which within this plan is very vital to this plan, and with some of those requirements, is the planning process. Within the planning process, for participation, it was a requirement that we sent letters out to other county emergency management agencies and their directors to participate in our creation of the plan, just in turn that they have to do the same for their plans whenever they go to start reviewing their plans. We also, a vital portion of the participation is our terrorism planning and mitigation group, which is appointed from the commissioners and discussed with the commissioners. So there's a slew of different people that work within that planning group and that were in attendance at a majority of the meetings. I also sent letters out to various departments throughout the county that would be involved. Our health department, the building department is very vital for this plan, and they participated in the planning process. The next step in this section was the process, the actual meetings that we had conducted. The next slide kind of goes over some of those meetings and what we went through in each of those, so I'll leave that for next. One of the next things was public outreach. As you know, we had to put letters and public notice into the newspapers to get public involvement. I also had to put the plan at the libraries. And I also
listed everything on our website, and each meeting minutes, agendas, whatever information was pertinent to the plan to get public involvement. In addition, anytime we did outreach to Rotaries, or anytime that I went out and gave an emergency preparedness presentation, I tried to bring in that mitigation aspect to kind of get people involved in that process if they wanted to be. Integration with existing plans. This section is really how does this information within the mitigation plan pertain to and can incorporate items from our emergency operations plan, the mitigation plan that we had previous that we're doing the revision on, the Ohio mitigation plan, and it also had information in there from the floodplain regulations that are set out by Geauga County. So the next section was the identification of hazards. So what we needed to do is identify kind of what hazards exist within Geauga County, and we needed to look at a couple different things. The locations that those hazards could take place. So a tornado could pretty much affect all of Geauga County, where dam safety or dam security could only affect a small population within the county. It just be dependent upon where the dam was located. We talked here, we also had to look at the extent. So what is the typical extent of structures that could be affected by that, and what is the typical amount of snowfall that we get in the winters, those types of things. Previous occurrences, a couple things happened here. Kind of took a collections from various websites, National Weather Service, went down to records and got information on just our archive process that we have with documentation of disasters that happen within the county, and listed out the previous occurrences. This we really looked at from 2004 to 2012 and what's happened between then to try and base our actions on that time frame. The probability that was based on the previous occurrences. So if we determined that there were so many throughout those years, what is the probability that it would occur again within Geauga County? And then that vulnerability assessment that was completed is how bad it could potentially get. Looking at the worst possible tornado that could hit Geauga County and how many structures would be affected by that, or how many residents would be affected by that, and what the possible cost would be. The final kind of two sections, the goal determination by hazard. So this process, we had to list out what goals we wanted to set aside. What is our goal for, we added wildfires to this year's plan, and what was our goal to mitigate against wildfires and to keep the residents safe, or mitigate against actions for that. So we had to list out a goal for each one of the hazards. We also had to look at the previous plans, action items that were already there. We went through in one of the meetings all of those action items and determined which action items had been completed, or if they were relevant anymore. If they weren't relevant, we deleted those action items and we moved on to something else, or if they were completed, we had to list that out in the plan that they've been completed. It really shows to the state and to FEMA that we're utilizing the plan and how we're utilizing the plan and how we're trying to move forward and find additional mitigation actions that could be continued. The next section was to look at the remaining action items and prioritize those items, and then also add additional action items that might be used for the future. So for example, when we did that wildfire and we added that, we needed to add action items for that hazard, so we did that. And then of course the plan maintenance process, it is a 5-year cycle, so the plan is every year at least to have one meeting regarding the mitigation, and to bring in, still continue with that public involvement, so kind of get the word out that we're continuously working on the plan, and to kind of bring people back in if they have mitigation action items, or if there's something that we might be able to look at in the future. So that was it for the kind of plan and the components of the plan. For the planning process, we started the process with a kickoff meeting in January of 2014. Dean Irvine from the state of Ohio came down, and he's from the mitigation branch, and kind of discussed the importance of putting together the plan and updating and revising the plan. From there, in February, I broke it up into sections to make it a little bit easier to focus on. Our plan originally was, again, a binder full of things, so we needed to kind of break it down for everybody to take steps to get it completed. So that first meeting, we just looked at what hazards are we faced with and what are we vulnerable for, and prioritize those hazards. The next meeting then we focused on the mitigation actions like I had discussed, which ones were completed, which ones did we need to add, which ones did we need to delete, and we did that at our March meeting. From there, in April, that draft review meeting, pretty much did that over email, put it online, kind of got comments back from everybody, went through that. At the same time, what I did in April is I sent it up to the state to kind of take a quick look at it before that final submission to them to kind of get their comments. I actually just received their comments about a week ago, and they had just a few more wording things that I needed to add in there. So I have some few updates, but my plan would be to try and submit that by next week up to the state. So that would take us into today is the final public meeting that we need to have to finalize the plan, and then hopefully then, like I said, like next week I can submit it up to the state. From there, our next steps for this plan is we need to submit it to the state. Once the state takes a look at it and they approve it, they send it up to FEMA. FEMA will look through their checklist, look to approve it. Once that happens, it comes back down to us as the county, and we need to then pass a resolution to adopt the plan. And then I also need to go to all the incorporated jurisdictions and meet with them. And majority of them have served on the planning team, so they're already knowing that this process is getting ready to take place. And then we'll get them also to sign a resolution to adopt the plan. Does anybody have any questions? That's my presentation.
Well, that was easy. We have information here, so.
There is information, so I gave you the handouts for the slides in case you wanted to look at that. I also gave you a little bit, that handout, what is mitigation, talks about mitigation at the top, why we need to do the plan, and then the planning process at the bottom, and why we have to go through all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job. Very clear.
Okay, so for number 8, it says the Geauga County Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee will hold a public meeting to discuss the review and revision of the local mitigation plan for Geauga County. So,
Do we have to make any motions or anything? Nothing,
is it on that?
Well, we're not to the adoption
This is like the
phase
public
yet,
hearing.
so.
It
this
has
is
to go
just-
through FEMA, and then it'll come back down to
Then
us for
back
that.
to us and then, okay. All right.
All right, so
Number
we're
nine, so.
done. So the weekly acknowledgements is going to be the report filed by the dog warden of all dogs seized, impounded, redeemed, destroyed for the week ending June 18th, 2014, as required by ORC 955.12. A monthly report filed by the Geauga County Sheriff's Office of an account of expense for the inmate meals for the month ending May 2014. And then the revised monthly inventory report, revised consolidated investment portfolio, and the revised obligations and security monthly reports filed by the Treasurer's Office for Geauga County for the month of January 2014 pursuant to RC 135.35 subsection L. And for the schedule here, the 6:30, we have a Board of Revision, 9 o'clock. Blake's gonna handle that. Okay. The Commissioners will hold regular session on July 1st. Also on the 30th, I will be in Columbus with the panel of, I guess there's a couple of judges for the heroin program that's being conducted from the state. And then on the 4th of July, the county offices will be closed for general business due to the 4th of July holiday. 24-hour operations will still continue to operate as usual. Commissioners will hold regular session on July the 8th, and then also on July 8th, the Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. in the Planning Commission meeting room across the street. Commissioners will hold regular session on the 10th, and then on the 11th, NOACA Board of Directors, 10 a.m. in Cleveland.
Do we have a joint detention meeting on the 10th? I have that in my, no? I don't know why I got it there.
If you guys set a meeting when you were down there, nobody told me about it, so.
No, we didn't set
No,
any.
no, I'm just wondering why it's in my, okay. Well, I
And,
make a motion to
There'll be motion
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.